Hey there, guys. This is Greg from NFG Customs. I've been getting some. I get a lot of messages, through the Facebook page and through my personal page. And sorry, my gimbal's acting up here. It's acting stupid. We might have to try this again. Actually, let me try and do this. Maybe this will work. Yo, Dustin, what's going on, dude? So anyway, I get a lot of questions from people about, like, what kind of tools should I have, what kind of tools you use, that kind of stuff. Sweet, Mike. As soon as I finish this up, that's what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go watch Push. I actually put together the whole soundtrack on a playlist so I can jam to it, like, all day when I'm working or sitting here. Oh, giggity. Yeah, Dustin. So I get a lot of messages, lots of guys asking about, like, the kind of stuff they should have, if they want tools and that kind of stuff. So I figured it makes sense, for this group, since we're just starting off, let's begin at the beginning and let's go through some of the tools that I have. Kind of the goal here is I want to go through and just kind of show the ones I use most commonly. The stuff that's always on the bench and not buried in the box for some obscure thing that I need to do. So before we get any further, I forgot what I was going to say. So anyway, well, let's get to it. Anyway, working on autocockers and paintball guns in general, there's so many little things that you need to be able to do. And when you've been working on guns and stuff, as long as I have, you kind of gradually accumulate all these different tools for different jobs. Some things are actual tools. Some things are stuff that we repurpose for a certain, to do a certain thing. So, first and foremost, the stuff that I use the most are my Allen keys. So these are Bondus Allen keys. They're great. If you're going to buy Allen keys, I recommend definitely get yourself a set of Bondus. I buy the Bondus, I get them in the ball end, and I always have a set of the flat end as well. And these are my good ones. These are the ones that I don't share these. I don't let anybody see. I don't let anybody borrow them or any of that kind of nonsense. So, and these are great. So the ball ends, I don't know if you guys can see that or know what they're for. So basically the ball end helps you get in and get at some of the screws and stuff at an angle, so you're not, like, scratching up your frame or whatever. So, anyway, I also have this giant freaking set that I got at, I guess Lowe's or Home Depot, so these things here just kind of, this is for all the stuff that isn't covered by this, and this is like somebody comes up to the booth, oh, I need to borrow an Allen key, I gotta go chrono, I'm jumping on the field. Okay, here you go, you get it out of the cheap set. I actually have like 3 or 4 of these things. I keep a box of them in the RV, so, so I have plenty of them. You can never have too many Allen keys. So, Allen keys are important. Make sure you have good ones. And then you can use the crappy ones for stuff when you're trying to get a stuck banjo bolt out or something like that. Any of those instances where you're probably going to, mess something up, you're going to want to use the cheap ones. Some of the another things that are pretty important are picks. So I use picks and probes all the time, and for these I'm gonna angle the camera down. So let me just do this here. I don't know if you guys can't see that. Just let me know, and I'll try and figure out a better way to do it. But so a good set of picks is kind of, I find it to be indispensable. There's a lot of times that I'll be in the middle of something and there'll be you know, you're trying to get a feel for what's going on or what's, and the reason I'm saying this is because I was working on a gun today, and I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, oh, you know, it seems like there's something, you know, down in the valve. There's something down there. Because I could hear something rattling around, and I got one of my probes here, which are these things, and I could kind of get down in there and kind of feel what was going on, and lo and behold, there was a chunk of valve stem rattling around in the valve. So not sure how that happened, but there was a chunk of it in there. But anyway, having good picks is important, and having a variety. I mean, a lot of guys, you know, you'll have one basic pick that, you know, that you got with an O-ring kit or something like that. But you know, if you're going to work on a lot of different guns, or even just have a lot of autocockers and all the different types and stuff, it's good to have a variety of them. They're helpful for taking O-rings off, putting O-rings on. They're good for picking your nose. They're good for just all kinds of things, probing around, sticking around, feeling around. So thus endeth the sermon on probes and picks. Oh, no, it doesn't. Technically, it doesn't here. So actually, one thing I did want to mention is when you're buying a lot of these tools, especially stuff like picks that are semi-disposable, like you're going to use them for a little while, but then sooner or later they're going to get worn out and you're going to get rid of them. I go to Harbor Freight and I buy them. So this two set of picks, and I have like 10 or 11 picks here, something like that. Well, I might be missing a couple here. But I have $7 here on the table. So, you know, if something breaks or whatever, it's not a big deal if it gets lost. Now, I mean, we go to a lot of events, and we lose tools all the time. You know, it's really tough to, you know, to set up at an event and keep things going and not misplace at least one tool. Because you have guys coming up borrowing them, and you're dropping them in the grass, or they'll fall. Your toolbox will fall off the cart on the way back to where you're at. So, oh, what the hell are you doing here, Caesar? You should know all about this stuff already. You know, you're right, Eric. Yeah, taking a pick under the fingernail is pretty much the same thing, or pretty much about the worst thing you can do. I always get it when I'm messing around with my die tool. So this bent one, this is the one that gets me every friggin' time. That one, because it points like right down here to the Allen keys. So I'll be like doing something, and I'll be like, oh yeah, and then I'll just kind of shove these things closed real quick, and of course that thing will stick right through there and right into my finger, and then I feel like I'm a diabetic, you know, getting my finger pricked. So, I also like to keep pliers. I keep, there's three basic little pliers that I keep on hand. Hey, good seeing you, Caesar. So I have these long needle nose. These are great. And I actually think I want to get one set that's longer. But I like them because they're long and they're thin. So if you have, so if you're trying to, I don't know, pull a valve out, or you got something stuck, you can kind of get in there and, you know, grab it and pull it out. And yeah, that's what these are good for. These pliers I love. So these are like it's like a flathead, you know, like a flat kind of plier. I forget what the technical name of this style of plier is, but these things are great for pulling pneumatic hose. So if you use, if you use like a regular old needle nose, a lot of times they have like the sharp teeth on them. That'll cut the pneumatic hose. This here, it's just like it's like somewhat like a file. So you can get a really good grip and just give it a little tug, and the pneumatic hose pops right off, and you can reuse it. So that's why I like these. You can pull the hoses and not damage them. And then the last, well, I guess these aren't really pliers, but I have this little set of cutters, and I like to use these for doing pneumatic hose. So these are great, but pretty much the only reason I keep them is for pneumatic hose, but it makes doing it a snap, because you can just kind of measure it, get it from point to point, and give it a little snip, and you're done. So those are great. Another thing that I actually just picked up, and I found it to be very, very useful, is Harbor Freight has these giant magnetic bowls. And I've always had like little tiny magnetic ones, or like a magnetic spot on a tech mat or something like that. But a little bowl is great, because I can kind of chuck screws and whatnot of something I'm working on. And man, I'm getting all the heavy hitters in here. I had Caesar, I got Steve, I got Mark Davis now. Jeez, we're just talking about tools. So anyway, so that bowl thing is pretty cool. It's magnetic, so you don't have to worry about losing your screws or something. And I bought, I think I bought like 4 of them. So they're going to events, because I'm tired of dropping stuff at events and having to, dig through the screw box. So, now there's a couple of specialty tools that I want to show you. Let me lean down and get this one. And I'm going to pull one of these Schrader tools, but it's not the right size that you're going to use, but you'll get the idea. So anyway, this is something, if you have an autococker, this is something every autococker owner should have. This is a valve tool. This is how you remove a jam nut and how you can kind of put the valve in, and usually this will help you take it out too, in most of the time. But if you have an autococker and you don't have a valve tool, then you probably should buy one. They run between 15, well, I've seen them from $10 all the way up to like $30. I am a jam nut, Mike. I can see you. I bet you're sitting there waxing your mustache and putting oil in your beard while you're watching it. I know it. So anyway, so you can use this for your autococker jam nuts, or for your valve jam nuts rather. And it's a must-have tool. If you have an autococker, you need to have that, period. This is a tool I had made. So, and this is for removing vertical ASAs or VASAs. So how much beard oil are you taking for the 10-man, Mike? Okay, I guess he can't really answer, so we'll have to wait for him to type. But anyway, so this is it's just a socket, and it's kind of welded onto this T-handle. But this thing is great. So if you ever have to pull a a VASA off, you just kind of stick this up there, give it a couple twists, and you're off. You're not, scrambling around trying to find a socket and a ratchet to get it off. So that's another good thing to have, but this isn't a common tool. The other thing I wanted to show you is I got these cool little they're Schrader tools. So you can use these things to help you take apart Schrader valves, and you can use it for other stuff too. I actually find not this one, but the blue one of these actually works really well to hold the. You can use it as a wrench to hold the cocking rod, or not the cocking rod, the ram shaft while you're putting the pump arm on. So that's kind of cool. So that's why these things stay in my toolbox. Oh, you should have a chrono. I have 2. I got this one, and I have a clock, but the clock seems to be acting up. So I just had it into Virtue, and they fixed it, and then they sent it back, and it's still acting weird. It's better, but it's acting weird, so I'm probably gonna have to talk to them again. The other tool that I wanted to show you is this. This is a pack of files of all different shapes and sizes. This is another really, really handy thing to have. And this is for making parts that don't fit. Or if you have a burr or something like that. So you can just go ahead and use these things to kind of shape, shave, do whatever you need to do. And it's not something you're going to use every day, but it's one of those things that you should have because, number one, they're cheap, and it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. There's nothing worse than having a burr or something that you need to deal with and you just can't do, and you just can't do anything about it. So, again, this set here, Harbor Freight's your buddy for this kind of stuff. I think this was like $2 or $3 at Harbor Freight, so nothing crazy. And now this is an expensive tool here, or set of tools. So this is actually an entire set of little tiny wrenches. So these are all like, I think these go from like 1 millimeter all the way up to, I think they go up to like 5 or 6 millimeter. Let me see here. Yeah, they go up to 7 millimeter, and then the other side goes up to 5/16. So these are absolutely great to have. I use these a lot. These are tool. Again, this is a tool that's always on my bench. And what I like about them is, they're thin, so you can get into places that that you can't with a lot of other ones. It has a decent enough handle to where you can kind of get leverage if you have to. If something's really tight and you can't get it off. And I got these on Amazon. These were, when I bought them, they were like 24 or 25 bucks. And I looked on there the other day because I wanted to get a second set. And they were up to like 35 or 40 bucks. So, but this particular set here comes with both. It has both the metric and the standard sets. So this is really good to have. This is by Moody Tools, which is a company. It's an American company out of, I believe they're in Connecticut. So, so buy American. These are good tools. I would definitely pick yourself up a set of these if you if you want to build. If you're going to build guns or you're going to do a lot of tech work, you're going to want to pick up a set of these. So, let's talk about lube, because I know that's what's on your minds. You want to know what kind of lubes we use. Oh, yeah. So, I guess we can talk about lubes and various other juices because I think they kind of go hand in hand. So let us begin with the stuff that lets you move. So there's 3 different kinds of lubes that I keep in my toolbox all the time. The first one is ka-ching, Dow 33. Gibbs beard oil. So Dow 33, you're going to use this. I put it on valves. I put it on 3-ways. Anything that you want to lubricate that's going to be moving a lot, that you're not going to be regularly ripping apart and squirting oil on. Dow 33 is the way to go. This comes in a couple of different ways, so that you can actually get this in light, and it also comes in medium. And that has to do with how thick it is. I usually have a big thing of the light because I use that more often. I think it works a little bit better. I think it works a little bit better in the 3-ways. And then for the valve, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference for an autococker valve if you're using light or medium. But I do usually keep a small tub of medium in my toolbox just for, just in case, just I ever want to use it. Funny you should ask, Mike Kwan. So the next one that we're going to talk about is ka-ching, Dow 55. And one thing you want to pay attention here is Dow 55 looks just like Ka-ching! Dow 33. Don't confuse them, because that would be bad. All right? So Dow 55 is another lubricant. This stuff is thicker, and the one really fun thing about this is it swells O-rings. So I find this, I don't really use this on autocockers regularly, but it's one of those things that you should have in your toolbox for that time when. You don't want to be the guy who has to like try and find Dow 55 somewhere, which it actually ended up, was kind of challenging to find this a few weeks ago when I bought this. Because my other tube, I had a little tube, and I guess a wrench or something got dropped on it at an event, and it had a hole in it, and it just kind of squirted all over the toolbox. So, yeah, but anyway, so this is kind of a handy thing to have. You can use this if you have an O-ring that's being stubborn and you can't get it to seal. You can, there are guns out there that require Dow 55 to operate. I think some of the Bob Long guns use it. So it's a good thing to have in your toolbox. The other lubrication that I use is Gold Cup oil. This stuff, I've been using this stuff for like 27 years, and this stuff is great. It's pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, shut up, Cody. Shut up. Go lay down. I don't fix bobs. Anyway, so Gold Cup, this is the stuff. Keep some in your toolbox. If you can't find this, and this stuff is getting harder to find and it's more expensive because apparently the company has been sold. Yeah, this is one, I've had this bottle, Mike, I've had this bottle for like a decade. I've refilled it with, for a while I had a bigger tub of Gold Cup that I actually emptied last year. But what I love about it is like the label is all slidey because it's all oily and nasty. So nothing says old school like a greasy ass oil label. So, and I keep this in my toolbox too, just because I'm running low on Gold Cup, and I'll use Gold Cup to I'll use light oil to track down leaks. So now that I'm getting low on the good stuff, and I haven't been able to find a steady supplier, I just put a couple drops of this. What are you saying here? Order our cast oil. Same shit, cheapest I found. Yeah, I don't know. I got this for free somehow. When you go to events, I find like people leave stuff on your table all the time. They'll leave oils and Allen keys. I had a guy leave a wad of cash sitting on the table at Ion. It wasn't this past summer, but the summer before. And I mean, it wasn't like $50. It was like $1,000. And I'm like, where did this come from? And luckily the guy came back and he was, he's asking all the places he went. And luckily I had it and I'm an honest guy. So I gave him back his money. Yeah, it's crazy the kind of stuff. So, that people do at events. Anyway, I'm kind of rambly tonight. I'm a little tired, but I've been meaning to do this video for a couple of days. Yeah, KC Trouble Free is really good. And then there's one other one. I'm trying to remember. Simon was telling me about it. I can't remember, but when I remember it, I'll get some. So the other thing that I don't know if you really need it in your toolbox, but is definitely a nice thing to have. It really depends, if you're going to, if you're going to build a lot of guns, it's a good idea to have Loctite 545. So what this is by Loctite. It's not a thread locker. This is a thread sealant. So the difference between a thread locker and a thread sealant is that this is for holding air in threads. So, and did that make sense? I don't know. Anyway, you put this on screws where you're going to have, screw threads where you're going to have air passing through, like the LPR. I use this stuff on the LPR all the time. Every autococker I build gets Loctite 545 generously applied before it gets run into the front block. So, works great, and it seals up nice. And it does have a little bit of an added bonus of being somewhat, I mean, you're putting stuff on the threads, so it's going to kind of lock the threads, but it's not anywhere near as intense as Loctite Blue, which, as you know, is not very intense, but it adds a little bit, it adds a little something to the threads. So now that we've broached the topic of thread lockers, let's get into that. So there's two types of thread locker I use. Boom. I use Loctite Blue and Loctite Red. But when I'm at events, I use Loctite Red, and I use, what's this one? Well, not this one. I use Permatex at events. This is Prime Lock. I don't even know where this came from. But anyway, reason being, if you look at the packages, it's real easy to confuse Loctite Red with Loctite Blue. The only thing different is the letters. So when you're busy and you got people talking to you and it's hot and you're thirsty and you're tired, it's a good idea to use something that you can easily differentiate from the other thing. So that's why I like this, because it's a nice blue container. So Permatex is the brand that I use, and that's pretty good stuff. The Prime Lock, I'm not sure where it came from. I haven't used it, and I just kind of noticed it sitting here. So this might be one that I had in my gear bag, which I cleaned out here earlier. So now, so why do I have two different kinds of thread locker here? So Loctite Blue, this is the one you're going to use 90% of the time. So you're going to use this for putting on, you can use this on screws, you can use this on rod threads, you can use this for all kinds of different stuff. And this is going to lock the threads, but you can still get it off with a wrench and a little bit of muscle. Every once in a while, you might need to hit it with a little bit of heat, but that's very, very few and far between. And usually when that is when somebody absolutely loaded up the threads with a whole bunch of it. So this is the one that you want to use more often than not. Now, you can run into some situations where Loctite Blue doesn't cut it, and you need to go a step up. Then you go to Loctite Red. One thing I will caution, when you're using Loctite Red, you make sure that when you're using it, everything is exactly how you want it, because this stuff is a pain to get undone. I typically, when I use this, it's going to be used very sparingly, because, like anything, the more you have, the more difficult it is. Yeah, use it sparingly and only use it when you absolutely have to. Yeah, green Loctite. Yeah, no, that's called the ShockTech fuck you glue. So I don't mess with that. Red is as evil as I get. And the only things I really use red Loctite for, cocking rods. So like I'll put that on the cocking knob for the rod, and I'll just put a little dot on there. I'm not coating the threads in it. It's just a little bit, just to give a little bit more hold than Loctite Blue. And it's a cocking rod. Worst case, if you absolutely have to make that adjustment, throw some heat on it. It'll be fine. They're almost always, a big block of aluminum or a big block of stainless steel or whatever. So, now the last thing in the lubricants and juices category that I want to talk about is my personal favorite, VC3. If you work on paintball guns, if you don't work on paintball guns, if you have a screw in your house, if you have a screw on your car, if you have a grill, you should have VC3. This stuff goes great on chicken. It's not as good on steak. Just kidding. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. It looks like gummy candy when it dries, but don't eat it. It's not candy. So VC3 is awesome stuff. What this is this is a, I guess it's kind of a, I guess it's a thread locker, right? I would call it a thread locker. Oh, it says it's thread locker right on the box. So basically what this is a vibration resistant thread locker. And what I like about it is that it doesn't get super hard and dry like Loctite does. It kind of gets gummy. Yeah, Cody, I do get I used to get the jar with the brush, but the problem with that is when you use it a lot, so like paintball wise, like this little tube, this is enough to last like months. The thing with the brush, it actually starts like gumming up and getting all nasty, so I stopped buying it because I ended up throwing half of it out. Or what's really awesome is when you spill it all over your tech mat and then you're forever cursed with this giant pool of nasty VC3 puddle on your tech mat. I've done it like 4 times. So yeah, so I quit buying it. No, Justin, it's not rubberized, but it's almost like thick caramel. Like you remember those caramel candies that your grandmother probably got at Christmas time? That was like, not like Werther's, but the ones that were like chewy. It almost gets like that. Like if you could imagine like taking that caramel goo and putting it on your threads, that's exactly what it is. You can still turn the screw with a tool, but it's not going to work its way out as it's going back and forth, or as stresses are being applied and removed over and over again. Case in point is we use this on the valves, or not on the valves, but the retaining screw on the valves. One little dot of that on the retaining screw is going to keep that retaining screw in place, even though it's constantly, getting forces applied to it and taken away from it, and applied to it and taken away from it, because you're cycling all of the air of the gun through the valve. So that helps keep it in place. You don't have to worry about that thing rattling loose and and just, it can make for a bad day, especially if you're shooting a gun that's an 11/16 valve. You can get that valve kind of wiggling around in there, or moving around in there. It'll start leaking out the barrel. So it's important that screw stays in place. With a 9/16 valve, it's still important, but it's a little less important because you do have the jam nut there. But I was actually working on one today where the jam nut keeps working loose. So I put a little bit of VC3 on the jam nut because I know they're going to be able to get it out. They're going to be able to get it out easily. They're not going to have to apply heat. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to, you don't have to worry about the Loctite issues when you're using VC3. But I put that on pump arms. I put it on the valve retainers. I'll put it on the screws for the ASA to screw it up into the frame of the gun. So stuff that that you might take off and put back on is a good way to do it. Now, the other thing I like about it is that it's reusable. So this stuff will stay on the threads, and I think you can get up to 5 reuses out of it. So, if you're playing paintball and, you realize your frame, you want to adjust your frame, I don't know. You run the screw out, do what you need to do, and then you can put your screws back in, and you don't have to go digging through the toolbox for your thread locker again because you just broke it. This stuff is gummy and it sticks with the threads, so it's it's going to be there. So, I almost forgot about the other specialty tool that I wanted to talk about. So, if you do anything with 11/16 guns, this thing's awesome. And all this is a 1/2-inch tube of shark bite. This is the secret for putting the valves into an 11/16 valve gun. You can use it for 9/16 too, but I just use the valve tool since I need it anyway. But if you get yourself, if you have an Inception gun or a Merlin, go to the hardware store and spend like $3 and get yourself a length. This one's about a foot long, I guess. And you just balance your valve on it and right up in there. And the nice thing about it is you can kind of wiggle it. It's got a little bit of give to it. So if you get, sometimes they get hung up on, I don't know what the hell they get hung up on, honestly. It's just a tube with a couple of cuts in it. But sometimes they just don't want to go in. But you can kind of give a little bit of wiggle to kind of get it up there. So, so this is a handy one to have. So, so I think that's pretty much most of the stuff that I keep on my bench. Oh, that's a lie. The other thing that I keep on my bench and that I use absolutely every day is a reg pressure tester. And this is real simple. All this is an old ASA happens to be from an Empire Sniper or a Resurrection. And this is my favorite one for reg testers. Because it has this little lever lock thing here, and so you can degas it. But what I like about it is when you get it pressured, you can actually kind of treat it almost like a trigger, and you can, bounce it and test to make sure that your reg is resetting, which is pretty awesome. So if you have a reg and you're not sure if it's working consistently, you can turn this thing on and off fast enough to where you can check and see if it's resetting properly. So, but all it is just that ASA, and then in this particular case, it has a 600 psi gauge on it. I used to have one that was like 400 or 500, something like that, and that one broke. So I got one with a 600, and it's a super cool Bob Long one. So I'm hoping this one never breaks just because it's so cool. But basically how this works is you are just going to screw, you would, let me grab a gun here. So you would just unscrew your reg from your gun, and then you would screw this onto the reg of the gun, put a bottle on your ASA and power it up, and it'll tell you what the pressure is between basically, so you know what your tank output is because you set it, or it's an 850 out if it's standard. But it's going to tell you what your reg is outputting. So that's super important with autocockers because a lot of those outputs depend on what springs you're running, what valves you're running. So knowing what your reg is outputting is very important. Pressures are everything in paintball, and being able to test your regulators is very important. So anyway, so that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about tonight. So I've been kind of racking my brain trying to figure out, what, the kind of stuff we want to do in this group. And I would like to make it, video heavy. I don't know if you guys can do live videos as well, but I'd really like to make this kind of a collaborative group. We have a lot of smart guys in here who know how to do a lot of things. And, I would like to learn from you guys as much as you guys would like to learn from me. So, thanks, Paco. So, I mean, I don't know if you got, if there's certain, something you would like to watch me do or you want me to explain, but I would certainly be, more than happy to do it. I don't know if you just want me to tech guns on camera or something like that. I'm fine with whatever you want to do. But if you guys want to post up some ideas about some things that you might want to see or learn about, that would be awesome, and that'll give me a little bit. It'll give me a bit of a target to hit. So yeah, I think that would be cool. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you tuning in and giving some comments. Except Cody. We're going to have to ban him. Got to get rid of him. Cody's a good guy, for those of you who don't know. A blazer? I don't have any here. And honestly, I have not seen a blazer in like 3 years come across our tech bench. Like, we had one. It came to Ion our first time, and but anyway, so I this is really confusing because it puts all the messages up at the bottom, and I feel obligated to read the messages. So I guess I need to learn to stop reading them and just kind of circle back. So I apologize if I'm but yeah, so I haven't seen a blazer in years, but I mean, if you get one and you want to send it in, or if you want to do a video on it, go for it. That's I don't want this to be just a me talking to you guys group. I want everybody to kind of contribute if you want, just because we have so many really, really good people. Spring kit. Okay. So there's been rumblings that we've had a spring kit coming out, and we've had the springs here for a while, and we've been testing them out, and I'm happy to say that we officially have our spring kits available. Let me see. So here we go. This is the brand spanking new NFG Cockers spring kit, or NFG Customs Autococker spring kit. So these guys are going to come with, right now they come with 7 screws. So you're going to get 3 hammer, did I say screws? Springs. They come with 7 springs. You're going to get 3 hammer springs, 3 valve springs, and then a trigger spring. We're still testing out some sear spring options. We have a few, and we're messing around with it, but we didn't really deem it that important to get them in here because we have. So Inception has they already have a sear spring kits available with a lot of their parts, and then, aside from that, there's, sear springs you can go get at your hardware store. So we didn't put a whole lot of thought into, well, we put thought into it, but we didn't want to put a spring kit in, or we didn't want to put the sear springs in right now. We wanted to just kind of see how it goes with just these ones, because for the most part, guys need valve springs and they need hammer springs. And we threw a trigger spring in there because I know for me, anytime I take the gun apart, I lose the friggin' trigger spring, so it's always nice to have an extra. But these are, they're available on nuclearpaintball.com, which is, so for those of you who don't know, Nuclear Paintball is the online store for NFG Customs. You can go on there, you can reserve tech work, you can pay for it online, you can look at pricing and all that kind of stuff. And then any of the products that we have that are NFG branded are on there. So you're going to see the spring kits. You're going to see some of the other goodies that we have coming. So, but yeah, so that's the spring kit. Jake, they're pretty similar to Madman. You get three comparable weights in there. Or well, I guess technically 6 but you have 3 colors, and you have a corresponding valve and a corresponding hammer spring. I think the biggest reason why we wanted to do a spring kit is because it seems like Madman's been kind of hot and cold, and you know, for a lot of guys it's not a big deal, but then you know, I think that I think that there's guys out there that, you know, they're building the gun for an event or something like that, and they don't want to have to wait 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever it is. You know, and honestly, it's competition. You know, we want to broaden our our product line and offer more stuff that we know is good and we know is consistent to our customers, and we want to be able to kind of keep the prices down. So, so the spring kit, this guy is it's $10, and you can I think shipping on the site is $5 if you just buy one, but anything $50 or more on nuclear paintball, it's free shipping. So typically whenever I see something like that, like I'll grab a couple spring kits when I'm buying something else. So maybe you're going to buy a frame. Well, you know what? Throw 2 spring kits in there for me, and we're good to go. Justin. Oh, hey, thanks for posting that mic up, or that link up, Mike. I appreciate that. Justin, that is actually something that we are discussing right now. I actually have Gus Lackertis' Hornet over there. So exactly, Mike. You spend a lot of money, so you get free shipping all the time. So I have Gus Lackertis' Hornet over there, and I'm gonna hopefully get to it this weekend. But we're working on it. It's just a matter of finding the time to do everything. I know I'm buried in tech work. Greg is buried in tech work. The other Greg Smith. So right now we're just swamped. So it's just a matter of finding the time to get all that cool stuff done. Joe, my favorite color combo for my springs. Honestly, it just really depends on the gun. So when I'm doing a pump gun, I'll usually do. I have this pipe dream that I'm going to get away with a green combination, which you know, it's a super light valve spring and a super light hammer spring and then a heavier valve spring. And it works out pretty good, but usually it ends up, it's like, you know, blue valve and a green hammer spring and vice versa. But it really just depends on the gun. Some guns like softer springs, some guns like harder springs. It just really depends. But, you know, if you ever have a question, about anything about that, about how you want to tune it or balance springs, you know, you can feel free to message me or message the NFG Customs page. I'll be a little bit more responsive through my personal account than the NFG Customs account, just because I get an alert and it's easy. The Facebook page manager kind of sucks for doing messages on. So any other questions? Anything else you guys want to ask? I'm here. I got nothing to do for a little while yet. I'll give it just a minute. Maybe I'll figure something else out I can kind of talk about. Oh, actually, you know what? I do have something I wanted to tell you guys about. Hang on, this is pretty cool. I'll be right back. Or maybe I'll kill myself digging these things out. So, beer of the day. I don't know. I don't really drink beer too much. I don't really drink much anymore. I used to drink a lot, but I kind of stopped drinking a lot. Do a vid on the proper way to pull a safety out. Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what. We'll do that now. As soon as I get done talking about this. So, I'm one of those guys. I'm always looking for kind of a better way to carry my paint. something easier, and so I'm not losing pods and all that other stuff. And I found something really cool. So Simon had one of these has one of these packs, and he uses them religiously. But these are it's called a BT magazine pack, and this thing can hold 8. I hate this vertical orientation. I wish we could do it side to side, but Facebook sucks. Anyway, so this is a BT magazine pack, right? And what's cool is that you can load this up with up to, it's 4 pods per side, right? And this top part is always open. And then you have your standard pull strap down here. And the pods, you know, you take one out, the next one drops. And then you put your empty pod back in the top. So you're not like stuffing pods down the front of your jersey. You're not, like I have a dump pouch that I carry. And I'm trying to figure out a better way to do it. And I found these guys on ANS, and they were $5. So I bought a whole bunch of them. But if you guys are looking for packs, I would check them out. It's actually a pretty comfortable pack. It's decently enough well made, and honestly, it's $5. So for $5 plus a couple bucks shipping, it's worth doing it. I mean, you can have a brand new pack for under $10. So check them out. It's a clearance item because it's ANS, but yeah, for $5, I'd do it. I did it, and I'm gonna be giving some to my friends next time we go play. So, and Justin wanted to know how to pull a safety. Allow me to grab a frame. So, boom. Brand new frame. And I bet you're going to want me to put this thing back in too, aren't you, Justin? So pulling a safety. So can you guys see that all right? This is kind of, maybe if I do this. Anyway, so pulling a safety is it's pretty easy to do. The first thing you're going to want to do is, we say, it jammed up on you, it took like an hour, plus I trashed the spring in the BB. Yeah, that's a pretty common story. I know Mike and I were talking about it earlier, Mr. Kwan, about taking the safety, putting the safeties out and taking them out and putting them in. So there's a tool that you're going to need to do that, and you need this. Remember those cheap Allen keys I was telling you about? You need this one. This is, I forget which size that one is. Let me check here. That is the 1/16 Allen key. And one of these days I actually want to drill the end of this so it can kind of cup the ball a little bit. But last time I tried doing that with one of these, I ended up cutting my finger horrendously when the drill slipped. So I think maybe I'll just get a machinist or something to do it for me. So anyway, to remove the safety, so you're gonna want to be familiar. You have the driver's side and the passenger side. The driver's side has the little red stripe when the safety is out. So if you see that little red stripe, you want to push it in, okay? And then what I do to remove them is you're going to go in from the passenger or from the driver's side and put your finger over this hole on the top. So you see that little guy right there, and you usually just push, and they pop right out. But this is a brand new one, so this might take a little bit of effort here. All right. Hang on here. That's the other thing I love about this is that I can use it for a brace for doing this exact job right here. Let me get one of these flat ones. And you just, so you want to push it from the driver's side out. And then make sure you cover that hole. As soon as you pull this out, the little ball is going to shoot out. So cover that hole as much as you can. And there it went. There's the little ball right there. All right. There's a little spring. It still somehow escaped. But yeah, they like to flip out. So that's how you remove the safety. All right. So the safety's not there. And you still, so yeah, it's not there. So now to put that back in, you guys want to go through the, since we're doing this, you want to go through the auto trigger blank off plate? You want me to show you that? Let's do it. Wow, we've been on an hour. Am I really that entertaining? I don't think so. So, so if you ever want to remove this blank off, the auto trigger blank off, you want to pull the trigger, and then you're going to use your Allen key. Jesus, this one's really on there. Then you're going to, man, this one does not want to come off. There it goes finally. So you use your Allen key and you unscrew it while you're pulling the trigger. And this one's especially hard. I guess Simon ate his Wheaties that morning. Wow. And then once that's done, you have the screw and then the little the bezel, I guess. I don't know what you would really call that piece. And then you just push the blank off plate out. Now, I don't know if you guys have taken this apart and looked at it, but if you look at this, there's an Allen screw in there. And what you can do is you can screw that Allen screw out to shorten, so this functions as a backstop. So you can use this to stop the backward travel of your trigger by screwing this out. Now, the one thing I will caution you is that a little bit goes a long way. So if you think, oh, I'm going to unscrew this and I'm going to do like 3 turns, your gun is not going to work. I think typically, even when I do like the super short trigger pulls, I think I unscrew it at most one full turn. And that's really pushing it. That's if I have it set, if I have everything set really, really far to the front of the pull, which I try to avoid. So, yeah. Then to put it back, you can make your trigger adjustment. You can make your adjustment to that there. And then to put it back, you slide it in. Take care that you want this, you want the flat part to be facing toward the front. And then you pop that back in there. And then again, you're going to pull the trigger. And then, because that's going to brace against that flat part. And then get your screw there with your bezel. I guess I should find out what the real technical name for that thing is. And then you get your screw started and you just screw it in. Now, one thing, whenever you're working with Allen keys, I see a lot of guys, they take them and they they do this, and then they really wrench down on the screws. So, I would caution against that. I can't think of a screw in paintball, or at least on an autococker, where you need that much tension on it. So, what you tighten using it this way, and you loosen it using it this way. Okay? Mike, which adjuster were you asking? Are you talking about the set screw on the blank off? Okay, well, when you respond, I'll answer your question there. So let's move on to the safety here. I'm not sure how much battery I got left, so I figure we better at least finish this up. So, so putting the safety back in, it's simple, but it's still tricky. So there's a little bit of thing you have to do. You can put VC3 on there if you want. That's actually one that I would use. If I put anything on there at all, I would use just a touch of blue Loctite, and then I would let it sit. Make sure that it locked, and then that there's not any residue on the outside. So make sure you wipe everything, because you don't want Loctite to get into your trigger mechanism. So just be very, very careful of that. I would just use a little bit of blue Loctite, and that's only if that screw is loose. I mean, those screws are usually pretty tight, and if you're only backing it out a little bit, it shouldn't loosen it up too much. There's absolutely zero case at all where you want to remove that screw. So, anyway, so back to the safety. So to put the safety in, if you look at this, you see you have the part with the red stripe, and it's near the top of my finger here. So up here is where the red stripe is. And then you have the bottom, which is just a big, cylinder of metal. You're going to put this in, so the Inception Design logo is going to go through the frame first. And what you want to do is you're going to slide this in, and you want to stop it like right here. So right as it's going into that chamber, right? So you want to stop it right up against the very edge of that hole. And then you take your screw, or not your screw, your spring, you drop that in there. And I use my Allen key to just kind of make sure that it's all the way in. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing there. And then I'm going to take the ball, and I'm not going to drop that in through the top. It doesn't go in through the top. I'm going to drop it right into here. And then you get to play the game where you're trying to get the thing on top of the screw, and you can sit and screw with that. Some days it goes right on, some days you're screwing with it forever. And then, dang it, where'd the ball go? Boy, that's a pain in the butt. Oh, haha. It was hiding in my hand. These things are such a pain. So let's try that again. So you set it up. So you want to have that set up just like that. So you can see the spring in there, and you don't want the body of the safety, so that pin or whatever you want to call it, you don't want that pushing against the spring at all, but you want it as close to that spring as possible. And then you're going to take that ball and you're going to put it on top of the spring, and you're going to be sometimes it's easy, sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes it takes 10 times to do it, sometimes it takes 2 times to do it. I was doing one the other day, and I literally took me like 15 times to do it. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the Allen key, the 1/16 Allen key, you're going to put that, you're going to line it up with the ball, and then you cover it. You cover the hole with your thumb, and then you push it down in, and guess what? The ball moved, because it likes to do that. So let's try that again. Damn it, I knew that ball came off. So it's going to be one of these days when it's just going to be disagreeable. So you cover it and you shove it. And of course, this is not going smoothly like normal. So if you look, I got my Allen key. It's pushing the ball and the spring down, and showing you guys I just screwed it up. So now I got to do it again, but I'm trying to figure out how to show you the removal here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that very well. So it's in there, and then what you want to do while you still have that thumb covering that hole, you push as hard as you can. Well, not as hard as you can, but you want to push firmly on that safety, and then pull out the Allen key. And it's like a magic trick. Boom, safety's back in there, and it works. So that is how to remove and replace a safety on an Inception frame. All right, guys. So is there anything else any other questions you want? Yeah, where's the ball? I literally have lost probably 100 of those balls in the past couple of years. Before I got good at that when I was building all of the Predators that I sold. And yeah, I lost so many of those things. I think I had to buy it was like 30 or 40 of the balls off of Simon. I lost so many of them. So you're welcome. You're welcome, Justin. Glad to do it. So anyway, guys, if you guys don't have anything else to ask, I always say when you heard it hit the wall, I decided it wasn't getting a safety. That's generally a pretty good rule of thumb. Yeah. Unfortunately for us, we have to ship any gun that we get, any gun that we sell. It has to have a safety, and if it comes in with a safety, it has to leave with a safety. So we can't really remove a safety for insurance and litigation, because the lawyer says we can't. So if it was up to me, I'd be like, rip it out, get rid of it. It's just hanging. It's just making the trigger less smooth. That's not true, but I mean, I would remove them. So, so anyway, I am going to let you guys call it a night. It's a little bit after 11 o'clock here, and so my goal for this, I want to kind of do one of these, at least one of these a week, where we take some time and go through whatever, and you guys can feel free to do the same. But yeah, so thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time. Have a great night, everyone. You're welcome, Bob.